I'm Maggie. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist. I have degrees in psychology, theology, and marriage and family therapy, and a national certification in dialectical behavioral therapy. In this video, I'm not seeking to diagnose anyone. I'm only willing to offer insight into situations like these. Listen, I've said so much good stuff. Let's pretend like I said a bunch of good stuff. Right before I started, my microphone got unplugged, and I guess when I plugged it back in, you couldn't see it. Sorry. So, do-overs. Okay. So, today we're going to talk about you can't do that and about social media. So, on social media, we create our presence. And in using social media and also in gaming, we have these parasocial relationships. Okay. So, as an example, when people game, kids gaming, they create friendships online, and these are real friendships, right? Like, this was really common during COVID where people made real friendships, but they were virtual. The difficulty comes in when we feel like we can attack people online, right? So I know for me, I go into a lot of people's lives in multiple different spheres of social media, and you become friendly with the regulars. You know, you say hi to people. Even our own followers and subscribers a lot of times are some friends and family, and they have the potential to become friends and family, right? We use online, like a lot of us, we utilize it for a lot of things. So a recent study said 48% of people think online dating is a safe way to meet people. I mean, only 22% of the population use it, but we have a life online, right? But being online also drives us nuts. As much benefit as we get out of it, it can drive us crazy. Okay, let me say hi to some people, especially the people who are yelling at me to unmute my microphone. Hi, Prince Mugo. Thanks for being in here. Hi, Adric. Thank you for being here. Hi, Auntie. Thank you for being here. Hi, Adrian. Thanks for being here. Then everybody was yelling. There I am. Okay, now we're good. I should be careful when the dog's trying to walk under the desk and unplugs the microphone. Okay. So several of you have heard me say before that social media is all about ego. And I don't mean ego in the way of, being egotistical. I mean it more from a psychological perspective. We all have our ego, and we all have one, is how we present to the world. It's the way in which we want people to view us. I got to turn something down real quick. Okay. Anyway, so our ego, our mask, how we present to the world, we all have that. That came from Carl Jung, and love Carl Jung. So how we want people to think of us is how we present to the world, right? It doesn't have anything to do with our actual internal thoughts. I always tell people you don't want to know what other people are thinking about you because God forbid that they knew what you thought of them. We all have thoughts, right? And we all have things that we hide, and we all have things that are nobody's business. So, um, so I am very easily distracted today. I think starting with my mic on mute. Mm. And also the dog is very clingy today. Anyway, so we have our ego. This is how we present to the world. Now, in the age of social media and online presence, it gets exacerbated because we can retake pictures, we can put filters on, we can say anything. We create these online personas, you know, where I mean, think about how many family pictures you see on the internet, and the little kids are just sitting, smiling, looking so sweet. You know, every love story is the greatest love story of all time. Every family is the best family that ever lived. Every woman is the most gorgeous woman, and every man has six-pack abs. Like, it's just, this is how we present. And sometimes we get a little too enamored with our own ego. We get a little too enamored of this persona that we've created, which can be a problem, right? Then there's a lot of fighting and opinionism and things like that, and we are lacking a lot of intellectualism online. There's just so much arguing, and it's not even debating. There's just arguing. There's contrarians everywhere you go. And the difficulty with losing intellectualism is it's like my opinion and how I feel about something or feel about what you said or who you are is just as important or more than factual information. And so there are people who utilize intellectualism and facts and logic and things like that, that you literally can't debate with people who lack intellectualism, who just want to look at you and say, well, I don't like you, so you're wrong, right? And the way that society is working, and with social media as a microcosm, we are forced to divide into camps, right? Hi, Snowman. Thanks for being in here. I just checked. Oh, checking in from Indiana. Nice. Hi, Nick Morrison. UK is in the house. Nice. All right. So we're divided into camps, right? We are even more polarized than we ever have been. It's like moderation is not allowed. Being Switzerland is not allowed. You have to pick a side. Hi, Rogish. Thanks for coming in. You like pick a side, pick a camp, pick a clique, pick who you agree with. You know, people are not sort of allowed to be Switzerland or to abstain from the vote or not join the clique. We just everybody gets called out for that, right? And the way people will sort of shame you or force you into picking a side is like your opinion either lines up with what I think, or you're wrong and you have been wrong your whole life and you'll never be right about anything ever in the history of ever. Right? Like, just because I don't like something you said, or you didn't join my side, or you didn't agree with what I said, then everything you ever have to say about anything is just false. Just false. So, why does anybody else experience that? Do you guys see that online where it's very hyperbolic, cliquish. There's so many reaction shows and like smoke shows and review shows. We're all reading the cliff notes of everything. We just watch a react show and then we got it, right? And that's why they're so popular because they're popular, right? It's supply and demand. But we're not getting the actual information, right? Oh, Snowman says he sees it most, if not all of the time, right? And then it's just assumptions, reaching, feelings about stuff, um, reviewing people or videos for entertainment value, making up stuff. And then we have like cancel culture, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So, in interacting in these spaces, how do you ever get to be authentically you? Because we're all having to defend our stances on things. We're having to defend things that we've said. We're having to, pick which click, right? Or try to stay out of it. Um, there are people who are attacked and reviewed and things said about them and lies spread and all that kind of thing. How do you actually ever get to be authentic, right? I mean, a lot of times being authentic does not have any entertainment value whatsoever because we're like most all of us are in the middle of everything. Like most of us are pretty centric on a lot of stuff. But society, government, social media, all of those things are very polarized and fear-mongery and try to make us pick a side. Hi, Toya. Thanks for being here. Hi, Leon. Okay, so the other thing that happens with this, not being able to be authentic, not being able to just course how you want to do things, there's no grace given for mistakes, right? I mean, somebody makes a mistake and they are called out, they're made fun of, they're called names, they're thrown in the trash, right? Like people can't just say, you know what? Now that I think about that, maybe I don't want to go that way. You know, we tell people over and over again, we're trying to convince people of our stance on stuff. But then when we're able to convince somebody of our stance on stuff, then they get accused of not standing on their square, not being consistent, not sticking with stuff or that how they were before is how they are for the entirety of their lives. Like we're trying to teach people, we're trying to put information out there. We're having these debates to hopefully sway people, right? We're all doing that. And then when they do, we don't allow it. Like it's just not allowed. You just can't do that, right? Okay, Rogish says people are not fans of reality. Hmm. And sadly, that's what the Western society has been developing the thirst or preferred thirst for within its populace. Yeah, I don't disagree. No dissension, Adric says. Yeah, because that's the other thing. Like you join a clique, you're in a group and you're with them on one stance, but then you maybe don't agree with something else. And that just means you're done. You're done. You can't disagree. And they do this in politics a lot too, right? Like you will get called names if you say like I'm conservative and then you want to talk about womanist type things, women's rights or something. And they'll be like, "Oh, well, you're not a conservative, you're a libtard." You know what I mean? Like, you just throw the whole thing away. You just can't do it, right? So there's no grace. There's no grace for growth. There's no grace for being wrong, right? The This is where I always come back to. Most of us are all close to the middle. Now, either end of the middle might have a lot of differences, but most of us are just trying to live our lives. We're just trying to pay our bills. And because of the state of the economy, we are all struggling more at the highest income that we probably ever made. Does anybody else have that? Like you're making more money than you've ever made, but financially you are less secure because of economics, right? That's where most everybody is. Most everybody, most of what you see in media and social media and these extreme ends, that is very, very, very few people. But those people on those ends kind of grab all the folks that are close to them and stir them into a frenzy to get the big reaction. Rogish says, personally, I've always found reality much more entertaining than anything fabricated. Right? Like when you meet somebody who is authentic, they are who they say they are. They accept accountability for their mistakes. They are genuinely a nice person, or they're genuinely who they purport to be. It is much more entertaining. It is much more enjoyable, but that's not going to make the reality TV shows, right? Okay, Nina says, if you keep the populace divided, then you control the narrative. Always. Always. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, actually. Leon says, I get trashed for telling the bros that I am progressive. Oh, yeah, bros, let the circus begin, and I'll still be over here watching the show. Yeah. Adric says, inflation and shrinkflation decreased our salaries. Yeah, and Toya agrees. Yeah. Isn't it odd? It's odd how much division there is, right? Some of it's for good reasons. Some of it's a lot of people bought into the hype, right? Okay, so the other thing that stops us from coursing our own life, from setting our own future. By the way, when you see me look down, as you guys always know, I always have notes in front of me to keep me on track, which obviously today I need it. But the other thing that is gatekeeping us is the uninvested. There's a saying that has a curse word in it, so I'm going to try to say this in a nice way. If you're not feeding me, another F word, or financing me, you don't get an opinion. Now, that's crass, and I get that. But this is what I mean by the uninvested, right? Like we're allowing so many people to bother us when they're uninvested. They're not paying our bills. They're not our, romantic partner. They're not providing for our basic necessities, which is what that statement meant. They are literally uninvested. They're not invested in our progress or our success, but we allow them to bother us, and people will, when they are determined to bother you, they'll pull out all the stops. They'll just keep pressing buttons and saying things, and even at times digging into your personal life and doing, it's just a campaign almost to try to get you to react. But they're uninvested. So they don't get a say so. They don't get an opinion. Rogish says, one of those realities is the space being, now for people from other spheres of YouTube, since this is kind of the mental health realm, Rogish is talking about male advocacy space, Black male advocacy space. Okay, so one of those realities is a space being toxically focused on women that they wouldn't choose for themselves or their sons. Reeks of a huge exercise in neuroticism. kind of suck a duck as well. It's cute. Yeah, that I mean, and that happens on social media, doesn't it? And online where we get caught in cycles. And I've said before, when it comes to mental health spaces or advocacy spaces, what can happen is you have specific creators who are sort of like the introductory course, and there's always going to be new people that come into these spaces. But if you've been in this space for a while, the introductory course type of content creators lose their luster. you know, you want more. Like, what's the next step? What's 2.0? What's level 2? It's kind of like in my shadow work. If any of you watch that, we did level 1, which is very baseline, right? And now we're in level 2 and we're talking about really esoteric matters because some people were ready for that and wanted that. Some people are ready for it, don't want it. It's very, very voluntary. Leon says we call that indirect tax. Yeah. Toya says folks don't like being called out here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So gatekeeping by the uninvested. So the first one is the government, right? There's so much gatekeeping that goes on in our lives. So much that has to do with the government, right? Like we have, oh, sorry, it's something in my eye. We start with indoctrination, in school, what we learn, who we're around. And now in the age of media and the internet, there's lots of indoctrination that happens there too. But it's, the narrative's pretty set by the government and what we're supposed to believe, right? So we're indoctrinated into that life is all about being polarized. You got to pick a side, and that we, no matter what country you're in, right? We are the heroes, and we're right and they're wrong, and how we do things are right and they're wrong. And we get polarized from the very beginning. We're all hit with taxes and financial burdens that gatekeep us and how we're able to direct our lives. And then there's laws, regulations. I always find it, I'm not even sure what the word is because it's not interesting, not funny, haha, that there are certain people who automatically have all the rights afforded to everyone, and by proxy, then have the right to hand out rights. Isn't that weird? That people have to ask for rights that other people somehow just inherently have. So that's a conundrum. And then we have laws that, in a similar vein, but opposite, there are certain people that laws apply to, and there are certain people that laws don't apply to. And all of that is to gatekeep us to be able to course our own lives. And we're back to ego, right? Leon says, yes, I totally agree. A lot of men would not be entertained by any content if it does not talk about women. Let's move to the next floor, please. The women are not going anywhere. Yeah, like there are people who need to talk about whatever the entry level is in a space. There's always going to be people that need to talk about that, whether it's vent or share stories or whatever it is. And then there are going to be people that are ready to talk about something else. And that's a great thing about a space is the hope is you can find what you're looking for. And if not, make content, put it out there. Rogish says, if you're going to speak of women, it will behoove you to throw in some quality and those that hold grace, because there is much, much positive magic in that, even if cats don't want to acknowledge such. By the way, I love how Rogish speaks, you know? You guys should go subscribe. He knows tons about music. He's so fun to listen to. But I love the way he talks. I don't know where that accent is from, Rogish, but I dig it. Okay, Adric says right of the ruling class. Yeah. 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 Freedom and liberty versus rules and laws, Adrian says. Yeah, it's like there are certain people that they get their, they're born and they get their government issued freedom and liberty. And there are some people that when they're born, they get their government issued rules and laws and regulations, right? Leon says asking for rights from lowercase lords, idols, gods. Wait a minute. Lowercase? You know what that means? Yes. Okay. Toya says, I absolutely love that I was able to find my tribe in the space, though it took some fine tuning. Hi, Indigo Flow. Thanks for being in here. And yes, Adrian says, hit the like button. But oh, okay. Roger says North Tulsa. Hmm. You have some, you use some very 70s slang. And it's interesting. Like if you guys haven't gone to watch Rogish, go do that. Go do that. Okay. Some more uninvested people, right? Like the government is not invested in your success. The government is invested in your taxes. I'm sorry. The government is invested in your taxes. And if you're not able to give them your taxes, they will take away your rights and liberties and get that money from you anyway. Right? I mean, we have a prison pipeline. The prison industrial complex is last I looked, it was like $374 billion industry. The prison complex is the sole provider of the US's military tactical gear, meaning that primarily men, yes, women get imprisoned, but the vast majority. I mean, it's such a small percentage of women who get imprisoned, but men get imprisoned and they work for what economists will call slave wages. And the prison makes money off of the product that is produced by the prisoners. And that's sort of a shout back to the 13th Amendment. So the government is invested in your money. And if they can't get it from your money, or if they can't get taxes, they'll get your labor. That is what they are invested in. No country is invested in the success of an individual person ever. It's all systems, right? Indigo is talking to Rogish about Golden Crisp. Why am I thinking cereal? Oh, Rogish says I was laced by 70s manhood hella early. Yeah, I think that's why, like, some of the slang you use, I like it. Thank you, Snowman, for reminding people to hit the like and also the subscribe. Yes, because I think it's around 46% of the people who watch my content don't subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed to anybody here or anybody in the replay gang, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Oh, that reminds me. I was playing around with StreamYard. There. Oh, look at that. Because 600 subscribers. Isn't that cool? It's really cool. Okay. Back to the chat. Back to the chat. Okay, Rogish says, a wise man once wrote the great song, You belong to the city, you belong to the night. Now the song is in my head. Okay. So enough about the government. I think we're all pretty aware of that. We also have very opinionated friends and family. Doesn't it seem like everybody's got an opinion on your life and what you do and how you do things and what you say and where you go? And it's like these opinionated people now, at times we feel like they're invested because they care about us, but isn't it odd that most of the time the super opinionated people probably aren't that really invested in your success? They're just opinionated people. They want to have something to say because this is the way I generally gauge if somebody is really invested in my success. I think about, if I were to fail, are they still going to be there? When you think about, oh man, no, if I was really down on my luck, or, the last time I needed some help, or when I called them, they didn't show up. You know what I mean? Like, you can kind of gauge if they're really invested in your success because they'll hold you up when you fail. That's how you know. Then we have the biggest irritation of social media right now. And I hear lots of names for similar types of people, and I don't necessarily know the minute details of the differences. So put it in the chat if you know, so I can learn this. But I hear them referred to as like bots, ops, and agents of chaos. That's how they're referred. And these are the people who just show up out of the blue and want to wreak havoc. They want to be contrary. They want to confuse a process. They just want to argue. They will throw out all manner of things. You could have something going where there's lots of good conversation, and then they just throw a monkey wrench in it, and now you're arguing about something that makes no sense, right? Just because they said it. Just because they said it. And sometimes we're so influenced that we don't realize that somebody will say something and then we get activated. We're like, yeah, what they said, maybe that's true. And so that's how it works. That's why they keep doing it, because we can easily get swayed. Man, Adric's in here putting up my Cash App. I should hire you. Oh, I did. Okay. Oh, yeah. Toya says on to 1K. Man, I can't even imagine, but wouldn't that be cool? Oh, Auntie's welcoming the new subscribers. All right. Yeah, Adric says some people are only riding the wave. Yeah. And you know what's difficult about that is if you are a content creator, there is a fine line, right? Like you have to get clicks, right? Because if you're just speaking to the void, it doesn't matter. You're just wasting your time, right? So you have to kind of be you got to find a little clickbait. You got to find out what's interesting to people. You have to talk about what is the story of the day. You have to find ways to get people to click without selling off your integrity. So it is a fine line, especially people who are more intellectual. But I think what we find is that the intellectuals will find the intellectuals, and we may seem a little boring to other people, but that's okay. We have great conversations and we like us. So that's good. And we have a little less patience for agents of chaos, right? I am more of the, if you come in saying crazy wackadoo stuff, you can go. Then we also have NPCs. Now, for those of you who game, NPCs are non-playable characters. And in gaming, and this was explained to me, and I'm so happy that I know more nuance about this. In gaming, if somebody So there's characters that are just they're written into the game. They're not played by somebody. So those are essentially non-playable characters. But in gaming, if somebody does something kind of dumb or silly or is acting weird, they'll call each other NPCs. And it seems like what you find in social media is that you will have NPC type people show up. It's like you're about 42 arguments behind where we're at right now, and sometimes we will call those bots, right? But it seems like there's people who just choose to be stuck. But if we go back to you're not allowed to grow, I'm not sure what your options are. If you're not allowed to grow and change your mind and go into new arenas, then maybe the point is to try to keep people stuck. Yeah. Leon says, yes, we know those people. Okay. Oh, Indigo Flow, an agent provocateur. Ah, perfect. I love that. Ah, okay, Roga just talking to Indigo Flow, but he says it's in you, not on you. Had no reason being taken on runs that young. I'm sorry. Unless my midichlorian count was abnormally high. Okay. So at the end of the day, though, you don't have anything to prove to anyone. And that's how we get to authenticity. We say a lot of times, and we'll tell each other, let the haters hate, they don't know you. Say you didn't watch my content without saying you didn't watch my content. We say those things, but then caught in the moment, it's hard. It's hard not to let things get to you personally. It's hard not to get defensive. And we keep saying, oh, haters gonna hate, or it's kind of like when YouTube started watching me, and I don't know where YouTube got the tip to start watching me, but people were getting unsubscribed. Some of my stuff was being hidden. I really didn't think any of my content being, 99% mental health was that provocative. But, it's hard not to take that personal. But if the point is authenticity, if the healthiest position for each individual person to be in is to be authentic, then that's the reminder that we need to have, not let the haters hate and all that kind of stuff. Because sometimes people need to be called out back. And occasionally when I hear let the haters hate, it's like, well, just ignore it and they'll go away. Sometimes they don't. And sometimes they need that clap back, right? Or to be proven wrong when they're just saying wildly wrong things. So authenticity is how we combat that. Adrix says we're only human. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Rogish. Yeah, authenticity. And when we are around people who are authentic, we need to appreciate them for that without feeling like, oh, I can't say, hey, I appreciate you being authentic, or I love that you're always you. It's okay to say those things. People get called, thirsty and simps and all kinds of different words, pick me's, for saying thank you to people and giving people compliments. So honestly, that's where I say, let the haters hate. Just be authentic. If you appreciate somebody, say thank you. If you like something about somebody, tell them you like it. It's fine. It's okay. And that's actually where we need to be. All of us who are more moderate, who are more in the middle, who are just trying to live our lives, there's way more of us than there is of them. And we can start setting some standards. Okay, Prince Mugo says, they say it's all a game anyway. So I guess when you're impressing someone, you're You're exactly bored because why put on a show for yourself? And the rest of what he said. Hi, Scorpion Black. Thanks for coming in here. I'm actually going to talk about that in a minute, Prince Mugo. Well, not the end part of what you said, because we're in mental health YouTube, but another part of it. The thing about you might as well just be authentic is because when we fuss with people or they're calling us out online, the burden of proof is on the other person's satisfaction, right? Like, no matter how you try to prove what you're going to say, unless the other person is satisfied with your answer, it's not good enough. And so no matter what you say and do, they're not going to believe it when they've decided to feel a certain way or to put you in a certain box or to say you're a certain thing. They're going to stand on that square, and it doesn't matter. So I'm going to fart with you. Why am I going to fight with you about it? Right. Or maybe fart with you or another F word. But the thing is, we're in the age of AI anyway, and fabricated science anyway. So no matter how much you try to prove something, if they choose not to believe it, they're going to choose not to believe it. I mean, think about how many polls and surveys and things you can find that say all manner of heinous wrong stuff because it's got numbers in it and people want to believe it, or people misread actual studies. But even our access to actual science and studies is limited. It costs money. You guys know that it costs money to get journal articles. A lot of times you have to be members, or you have to pay for the articles. They make it difficult to get the actual numbers. Rogish says, can we still claim humanity with an artificialization of everything connected to reality-based reality is being developed as a social life? I think the thing is that it's sort of distraction, the look over here, not look inside. And of course, I'm Jungian, you know what I mean? And so I'm all about the shadow. I'm about Descartes saying, I think, therefore I am, about people realizing that you are the main character of the story and everything that's happening is just part of the story that leads to the next part of the story. And I think that helps us to be authentic and not be so concerned with how reality is writing itself in any given moment. Prince Mughal says, yes, because it's always been going on and we're just being aware of it. Yeah, we're now being aware of it, right? So let's talk about mistakes and being able to make mistakes. So what I see in social media is that there's really two paths if you make a mistake online, right? It could be you said something in the wrong way, or you were misinformed, or you made a decision in the moment that ended up not being the right decision, those kind of things. You have two paths. More water. That's not one of the paths. You can take accountability, which is extraordinarily rare online, is it not? And part of the problem with taking accountability is people are set up to have to be perfect, right? So as soon as you admit that you made a mistake or you got something wrong, you have people like, see, you can't listen to that person ever. And I tried to tell you 15 times and blah, blah, blah. Everybody's policing each other and you're just not allowed to be wrong. Even when you take accountability and you're like, yeah, maybe I was wrong about that. Or maybe I need to look into that more. Or, yep, that was totally my mistake. You're not allowed to. You're given no grace in your accountability, even though everybody is pointing at each other saying, take accountability, be responsible, right? The other difficulty with taking accountability is it gives people cannon fodder to abuse you. Or remember when you were wrong? Remember when you did that thing? Remember when you sided with this person? Remember when you did this? Like, it just gives people cannon fodder. And so it's almost a sense of protection to not fully admit or take accountability when you get something wrong, which, again, no grace. Snowman says, been there with that over 30 years of sports casting. Oh, I bet. Yeah. So the other path, if you make a mistake, one path is accountability. The other path is the no accountability playbook. So I want to share that with you guys. I want you guys to know what the no accountability playbook is. And each of you can think about a recent situation where somebody did not want to take accountability. And don't tell me who it is, but I'm going to give you each one of these things from the playbook, and just put your hand up if the person you're thinking of used this. Just put your hand up in the chat. Okay. The first one is projection. That is the first one in the no accountability playbook. So it's like saying, well, I'm not the problem. This other person is the problem. Right? Like, why are you looking at me? I'm not the problem. They did these things. I don't look at me. I'm not actually a problem. Even though I made the mistake and I did the thing, but this person, they'll say things like, well, this person's way worse, or this person actually started it, or this person's trying to still do it and I'm not, projecting the focus of the mistake onto someone else. Adric's already got his hand up. Yes. Oh, yeah. Adrian says, everyone is an avatar, right? Everyone, essentially, unless these people really have an investment in your life, everyone is a nameless avatar on social media. Everybody, myself included. We all don't, besides a few of us, we don't know each other personally. You know what I mean? Like, we don't hang out, but we have a parasocial relationship online. But somebody coming in saying all manner of stuff, and they just have some weird chicken avatar or something. You know what I mean? Like, who are they? It doesn't matter. Leon says he went into work today and totally forgot he was on vacation. No, Leon. Oh, no. Oh, man. Poor Leon. At least you didn't work all day when you were supposed to be on vacation. Yeah. Yeah. So Toria says, as much as I don't like that. Yeah, Maggie's right. We're all avatars, right? Unless you make a point of reaching out to take it from online to more personal, right? Like, there are people I've met online that I now have conversations with. Toya. That, you create more of a real connection with, we have our parasocial relationship with the circles that we run in, but everybody else, that the agent provocateurs, loving that still, they're NPCs. They're non-playable characters in your life. You're the main character. So they're just sort of details in the story. It doesn't matter. Okay, back to the no accountability playbook. Okay, so we had projection. I'm not the problem. They're the problem. The next one is gaslighting, which we hear that term a lot, but it is kind of important, because what gaslighting is it's sort of downplaying a thing and then making it seem like you're the problem. Right? Like, oh, if you think what I did is wrong, you're crazy. Because all I ever did was X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm not wrong, you're nuts. I didn't do anything wrong, you're sensitive. I didn't do anything wrong, you know, you just believe this, you're a libtard or you're a Republican. I'm not gonna say the 3 letters in the middle, but you know what I mean, like, it's very dismissive and making it the person who is pointing out your mistake, making them the problem. You're crazy, you're wrong, you're mean, you're too sensitive, you're this. That is gaslighting, okay? Oh, we got some more hands. Yeah. Gaslighting in relationships happens a lot, right? It's either you're being too emotional or you're too sensitive. That happens, right? Okay, the next one. We have projection, gaslighting, deflection. Number 3 in the no accountability playbook. Deflection is it's kind of like projection, but we're villainizing somebody else, right? So instead of saying, "Well, I'm not a problem, this person's a problem." You know, um, I don't projection is more about whatever you said about me, I'm gonna pretend like is true about the other person, right? Like, "Oh, you're" or there's something real about me that I'm gonna say about somebody else when it's not true about the other person. But deflection is, I'm not the problem. This other third person or this other situation is the real problem. Like, they are the real provocateurs. They are it's Hydra, right? Like, it's sort of look over here while this hand is stealing stuff, dodging the bullets. Like, oh, no, you can't get me, get them. We're deflecting. Anything you say about me, I'm going to hold up a shield and it's going to ting and go somewhere else. That's deflection. Okay. Adrian's got his hand up again. Yeah, it is narcissistic. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about in the no accountability playbook can also apply to narcissistic personality disorder. These are things that people with that actual disorder will do, but also people with narcissistic tendencies will do. Okay, so we have deflection. Next one is changing the narrative. I also call it changing reality, right? There are certain people that they will tell you, I drove my car to the store. Then later on, you will say to them, "Oh, yeah, when you drove your car to the store," and they'll be like, "I didn't. What are you talking about?" Well, yeah, like when you drove your car to the store on Tuesday, and they'll be like, "I didn't drive my car." Well, you told me that you drove your car. I don't drive cars. No, what happened was, and then they'll get into these like semantics, right? To change reality. And the unfortunate part about people who change the narrative or change reality, a lot of times they actually believe it. So it's hard to combat it. Yeah. So changing the narrative. The other times people will do things like they'll do the projection, the gaslighting, the deflection. So they've changed reality in their own head, and then they'll announce, "Okay, it's confirmed." Even though nobody agreed with them or like 3 people agreed with them, they'll be like, "It's confirmed. I'm not the problem. As we've established, I'm not the problem." And the people who established it is like 6 people, you know? I'm not the problem. And again, it's kind of the driving your car scenario. A person in this playbook can be called on something and they'll project, right? Like, yeah, you caught me doing this, but this is actually the bigger problem. And then later when they change the narrative, they'll be like, I'm not the problem at all. I never did any of that, even though I said before that I did. It's and you can see it. Once you see that a person is changing the narrative, you're like, check that off. Did it. These people will double and triple and quadruple down that it's either not them or it's circumstances outside of their control. No matter what the mistake was, they could have stepped on a bug and it's not me, it was the bug's fault for getting in front of me, or it was complete circumstances outside of my control. You know, I was abducted by aliens, and when they brought me back, they put me on the bug. That's all that changing narrative. Oh, Adric says, what had happened was, you see, it's not really my fault, right? Yeah. Okay, so Rogus says, how does one who is an avatar come to understand if they are on their own initiative or that of a programmer? I think the interesting thing is that, like I said on Toya's live yesterday, people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. There are some people who understand that I'll say I am, as a human, an avatar for something else. I am more than a brain and body parts and even the culture and the society that I live in. To me, am more than that. So I am my own programmer. And there are other people who are easily programmed. So I think the only way to know how to navigate the world and to know other people is to know yourself as deeply as you possibly can. The trifecta, 1, 2, 3. Adric says, oh, that's cute, Rogish, the way you put bars in there. I like that. Hi, Lewis Conyer, Red Pill Sleeper Cell. Oh, yeah. Toya, put your link for your channel in here in the chat. So if people have not subscribed, they can go do that. Yeah. Okay. The last one in the no accountability playbook is team building. And this is where, they've gone through their things. They've deflected. They've offered up other villains. They've changed the narrative. They've set the tone. They've absolved themselves of any accountability. And then they will team build, right? They want to talk to other people. They want to get other people involved. They want to set the narrative with those people because it's now come be with me so we can gang up on the person who called out my mistake. But I'm just going to come up with reasons why we're going to attack them. It's going to be something else. It's going to be because they made up lies about me. They called me out. The original person that I was mad at, that I projected my own stuff onto, they chose them over me. They're nice to that person and not me. So let's all gang up. Let's put a team together and gang up on this other person that I projected onto, or the person who stuck by that person's side. So team building. So you will see those things. Anybody see the team building? Especially in social media, I see a lot of team building, people trying to set the narrative and get as many people as possible on their side. The unfortunate part about that is that once they get a team built, they want to activate their team against others. Then they're just using those people to attack others. Super unfortunate. Thank you, Toya, for putting that in there. And y'all check your subscriptions, because I don't know if Toya has experienced this, probably. But here, the last month, I've had lots of people contact me that they were unsubscribed. I don't know why that is. Yeah. Yeah, team building and being political, Adric says. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Rogish says, so that means they stop growing and they get greedy. Yeah, that happens too. It's sort of like people sink into their NPC status. It's comfortable. Think about the Matrix. There are people who wanted out of the Matrix, who got out of the Matrix and wanted right back in the Matrix. There's some people who don't know that there is a Matrix, you know? So, and then there are people who have taken the red pill and couldn't go back. I mean, even if they tried, they couldn't go back. Like once you know what you know, you can't unknow what you know. So you'd be back in the Matrix knowing what you know, and it's just not going to work, right? Adrian says the sad part about team building is that you have to keep up the act that built you the team in the first place. Yeah, they're a finicky bunch, right? Right? They're a finicky bunch. That the team that you build. Yeah, yeah. Adrian says, "Put me back in the Matrix." Yeah. So moving on with you can't do that in social media. We're also another thing I'm noticing is this like twilight zone of free speech. Yeah, Auntie says take the red pill. Always take the red pill. It's uncomfortable and painful at times. And the more that you find out that you didn't know, then the more you know that you don't know. And whew, it can be rough. Right? There's a lot of growth that has to happen when you come out of the matrix. You have to realize how many mistakes you've made in this world. All right, the twilight zone of free speech. Oh, Leon says the narrative is so annoying. Yeah, taking the red pill makes us pause before saying something in public that your real friends and family don't want you to know outside of CNN or Fox. Yeah, that's true, right? But once you've taken the red pill, it's like you can't, there's only certain people you can have conversations with, right? Like you're going to have surface level conversations with certain people, and then other people you're going to get deep. Because, it's like-minded individuals. Adric says comfortability is better, in my honest opinion. I get that. Okay. Free speech. Free speech. It is this weird twilight zone of things because in the history of Western society, linguistics has always been used for control, and it's just a matter of fact. You know, meanings of words get changed, right? As an example, we talk about a lot how, well, people will say the United States is not a caste system, it's a class system, right? We hear that, right? So when there are some of us who talk about the caste system of the United States, they'll be like, no, 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 it's a class system, not a caste system. The thing is that terminology was changed in the 60s. Up until that point of time, in law, in the law books, everything was referred to as the caste. Is a social caste system. And people's economics were affected by the social caste system. But then when they changed to class, it takes all the connotation out of it, and it makes it seem like anybody can be a gajillionaire if they just do something with the straps of their boots and buckle down and something. But everybody can, right? That's why none of us can afford eggs, because we all can be gajillionaires. So that's what linguistics as control is always there. Native Americans, be they natives or Aboriginal. Children were taken away and put in, Euro schools. Kids were beaten for using their native languages. When enslaved people were here, I mean, they're still here. I'm not saying they aren't here, but according to the narrative, when the ships docked, people were beaten for using their language on plantations or in fields or in households. People were beaten for using their native language. They were forced to use Euro language. I mean, linguistics as control has always been there. And so that's that slow simmering thing that is happening on social media, is because people keep wanting to change the words for stuff. And then it loses its meaning, right? And so we have to maintain purity to linguistics. What you're doing is this. No, it's more like, it's kind of, no, I made this whole new word up about a thing that makes it not so sharp. And you're like, no, we don't get to just change linguistics. And as you guys will see, sometimes in here, people will offer up a way to say something that is just, it's just like the chef's kiss of the perfect way, agent provocateur. There you go. That's one where it's just like, that's the most specific and perfect way to say it. So let's just, use it. I see comments. So Leon says the United States is a class and caste system. The interesting thing, Leon, is that when you look back at legal documents, they didn't start using class until they wanted to talk socioeconomics. Okay. The caste system is based upon other criteria, not just one, multiple criteria that then determines your socioeconomic status. Then they wanted to change socioeconomic status to class. So that's kind of what I mean. Like, a brief way of saying it, is that it's both, but really it's socioeconomic status. And where you are on the caste system is there. And you can be there by birth, right? By birthright. That's a caste. Okay, Rogish says, if to speak upon reality is a crime, then I was born criminal. Oh, see what I'm talking about, guys? It makes me ask, who are these people that have a problem with reality, and why, if they're from the same one that I'm from, right? But then again, you have Descartes that says you're the only real person, or actually he says, I'm the only real person. The only person that I know for sure is real is me. There's no way to know anybody else is real. Toya says the cheat code is Velcro. Trade the bootstraps for Velcro. Now, me personally, I can buy tennis shoes at a little kids section, and so I like Velcro a lot. It makes things much faster. Oh, yeah. Adrian says kids disappeared. Yeah. I mean, think about all of the bodies they're finding at those reindoctrination the schools. Yeah. Yeah. Still here. Yeah. Straight up weaponized culture. Yeah. Eternally childish. Caste system. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Adrix says just ask Baron. Yep. Yeah. There are people who are born into it, right? We can't have conversations about generational wealth and say it's not a caste system. It's one and the same. And your economics plays into what you are allowed to do socially, and both your economics and your social standing are based on your caste. So let's use the right words and quit letting the twilight zone of linguistics happen, right? Language online, and also what we're seeing, is getting stronger. it's getting rougher, it's getting grosser. There's people are learning how to talk about things by using emojis or calling it something different. Um, some people, because they have to, they're having actual legitimate conversations about, you know, important topics, but they're going to get doxxed for that, or flagged or whatever. So they have to learn how to, say things for important conversations. But then there's other people who will figure out how to say things in a way that don't get them flagged. And it just is getting rougher, stronger, more threatening, right? Then we have, if we're going to talk about the twilight zone of changing words, we have to talk about somebody named Dylan Mulvaney. I don't know if you guys know who Dylan Mulvaney is, okay? But I am going to talk about this person by name. This person, born male, is transgender and started living life as a female or as a woman, I'm sorry, and documented it for social media. So it was day one as a woman and would talk about her day. Day two is a woman and talk about her day. Day three is a woman, and got a big following from that. People just trying to be supportive. People who are more liberal or more progressive or have friends or family who are transgender and was trying to see, learn, try to figure this out, what's going on. And after a period of time, even the most liberal of folks started seeing that Dylan was a problem. And it was because they started realizing that Dylan was cosplaying womanhood. And I think if I think back, the first problem that happened was this long, strange conversation about tampons. And if I remember correctly, it started with Dylan would carry tampons in her purse. So if a woman needed a tampon in the bathroom, she could give them a tampon. Now, obviously, Dylan is not using tampons. But then the conversation evolved to we can't, well, like society needed to quit saying that trans women don't have periods, which got really confusing. Because biologically speaking, trans women don't have periods. And that led to a rise of Dylan and some others talking about being on their period, which was interesting. What I started to notice was that there were some people who were trans, just regular people, more in the middle, you know what I mean? Just trying to live their lives and not creating sensationalism, who started pointing out that Dylan was cosplaying and causing problems for trans people or gay people who were just trying to live their lives and not causing a ruckus anywhere. They started pointing out that Dylan was a problem. Then what we ought, kind of on the heels of that, then it became this, I'm not a trans woman, I'm a woman. Well, then naturally born women were saying, well, I'm a woman and I have distinct things that I need to talk about as a woman. And so then naturally born women were being told to refer to themselves as cis woman. And so then you had women refusing, who would say, I mean, there were a lot of women who said, I support LGBT rights and I will call you by whatever pronouns you ask, but you can't tell me what to call myself. If nobody can tell you what to call yourself, you can't tell me what to call myself. Now, me personally, I am a womanist. That there are specific things that women need to talk about. There are specific things women need to get real with themselves about, and I will call out some stuff. And so being told at the end of the day, being told by someone who was born a white man, then coming into this space and telling women what to call themselves and how to view themselves and what to do with themselves and all that, it was a lot. And it was a lot for a lot of women. And so it was this language thing again. Like, women are allowed to call themselves women, and people are allowed to call women women. And there were actually a lot of trans women who came out and said, no, we are trans women, knock it off. This whole cosplay and trying to change reality made it to where, you had people on the Senate floor where somebody would be like, can you define what a woman is? And they couldn't, because everything was getting all mismatched and backwards and upside down. And the definition was just, and what it boils down to was one person on social media was creating all of this havoc, right? So it's like the twilight zone of language, where I've been a woman my whole life and now somebody's telling me I'm not a woman anymore. Okay, let me look. Canada as well. Yeah. Rogish says system is hyper hybrid. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, the whole Bud Light thing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And it was Dylan Mulvaney that was on the advertisement for Bud Light, right, Adric? Yeah, Roger says, I don't think it could get any more Orwellian. Yeah, I don't know what we're doing. Leon says, I stay out of the way of that subject. It boils down to a woman's issue. If women want to fight against the cosplay or anything else, that's their choice. I'll be over here with my popcorn watching. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. We should not have other people battling that for us. Not at all. Okay. And this is where the shirking of foundational humanity comes in. Yeah. Rogish says, if there's nothing more to being a woman but presentation, then what was it the entirety of the time? Like the whole time. Right there. And it started with the period, you know what I mean? Which just got everybody kind of off kilter, because it was like, wait. For real? Yeah. So Ruggers says the white man even want to colonize his own woman's gender. Hello. I mean, yeah. And I totally heard you, Rogish. That's on another level, folks. And it doesn't get no more colder than that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. So the Bud Light, yeah, nearly bankrupted the corporation. Yeah. But linguistically is what I'm talking about, is that agents of chaos, agent provocateurs, you know what I mean? Where we're just going to come in, don't look here, let's argue about what a woman is. You know what I mean? And women were like, wait, I thought I was a woman the whole time. I'm pretty sure I was a woman the whole time. Right? Okay. So another thing with language is the lack of manners, lack of etiquette, lack of honor. Nothing's revered, nothing is sacred. It's every person for themselves, and to be as provocative as you can, be entertaining as you can. People saying thank you, people saying excuse me, people asking permission, honor amongst men, those kind of things is just, it seems as if there's no space for it or place for it on the internet. But then if we're trying to be authentic, those things are going to come out. We're going to have our own value system. We're going to have our own manners. We're going to have our own etiquette. Now, I get matching energy with people. Now, myself, I'm not confrontational. Being confrontational is kind of goofy, but to a point. And so I get that. If somebody fires at you and you fire back, totally get that. Matching people's energy, I understand that to a certain point. After a while, it's just a lesson in futility, move on. If they don't get it from the matching energy, move on. It doesn't matter anymore. Um, but being authentic, we're going to have our own code of honor, right? And that we're going to live by. And I think when you come across people on social media that you can see they do not have a code of honor, that everything is fair game, everything and everybody is fair game, then I think you have to kind of make decisions to maybe take everything they say with a grain. You know what I mean? Leon says, I call it, let's go back to Rome effect. Did we leave? Okay. I talked about everything is based in entertainment value. Okay. Another thing I see on social media, this is the second to last thing. It's like happiness is not allowed. We're not allowed to be happy, right? We're not allowed to be happy unless prior approval is granted. We can be happy at other people's expense. We can do all the name calling, call people gay or sassy or clown or a square or a nerd or a pick me, or it's always something, right? There's some new term that we can call somebody, right? When they are a certain way. We're not allowed to just be happy. I don't know if you guys ever saw the frolicking videos on TikTok, but it was the best thing I've ever seen in my life. But those men, if you haven't, just put men frolicking in the search engine in TikTok. The men got made fun of so bad. And it's literally them just being happy. Just being happy. Just happy. Not allowed to be happy. Prior approval must be granted. And even when we are happy, it's never good enough. And it'll never be good enough. Because the most miserable person you're around is going to want you to be more miserable than them. So when we're in these online spaces, you don't know who else is in the chat with you. You don't know who's listening to you. You don't know who's going to interact. And you always have to remember that the most miserable person, so whoever wins the prize for being the most miserable person, they're going to want you to be more miserable than them. So no matter what happens, they're going to drag you. They're going to pull you down. They're going to do anything if you're happy and you're not miserable. So might as well be authentic and find joy and be happy. Just be happy. Enjoy your life. Right? Oh. Adrian says no frolic. I'm pretty sure you've said that several times. There will be no frolicking. Adric says, are you happy? Yes. And it's a choice. I choose to be happy. I choose to find joy. I choose to find the beauty in small things. I choose to to live in the moment, to listen, to learn, to find things, are there lots of things I could be miserable about? Sure. Are there lots of problems in this world that need fixed? Of course, right? But if I'm going to tout to other people to be authentic and to see themselves as the main character of their story, then I have to live it, right? I can't just tell people what to do. I can't just offer those suggestions and don't live it. So generally, overarchingly, yes, I am happy because I choose to be happy and I choose to see beauty. I choose to fill my life with lovely things. And when I have to deal with unhappy things or unfortunate things or tough things, I will balance it. I will also go and find beautiful things. Okay. Adrian says generally he's happy. Oh, Toya has seen the frolicking videos, isn't it? They're just giggling and laughing. Right. More frolicking men, please. I would much rather that than thirst traps. I don't know about anybody else. I would much rather just seeing men be happy and silly. I like it when men can be themselves and be silly. Yeah. Adrian's so full of chiggers. Yeah, because, well, I mean, people might not know what chiggers are. They're little bugs in the grass that'll bite you, give you little itchy bites if you roll around in the grass too much. And then the frolicking videos, a lot of them just kind of they're running and jumping and frolicking and they end up like falling and rolling in the grass. Yeah. Oh, shout out to Ren and Stimpy. Yeah. Nina says misery loves company. Yeah, always. And that's always been true, right? Roga says, you idiot. Hi, Samuel Isaacs. Thank you for being here. He says, get to 1,000 subs. We can send you money. Maggie, great content you make. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Indigo says, if there ain't no beauty, you got to make some beauty. Yes. Yes. And sometimes if there's no beauty, you're not looking hard enough. Make the mundane beautiful. If you're the main character, again, everything is a story, no matter how mundane, right? Narrate it up here. Oh, happy, joy. Hi, thoughts typed. Thanks for being in here. Rogish says, who the hell is, or what the hell is frolicking? Okay, we're going to have to send Rogish some videos about those. I'm just hearing it in my head. I'm frolicking. It's jumping all around like you done lost your mind. It's being silly. It's like running, skipping, jumping in a field, laughing, being silly, like children, children frolic, right? It's playing around, being silly. How does a grown man frolic? I thought it was an energy. Be childlike. That's how you frolic. Go play. Just go play. Be childlike. Thanks, thoughts. Rogish says, that sounds more like a metal pit. Okay. But happiness. The most miserable person you're around is going to want you to be more miserable than them. So be happy, right? Irk their spirit, right? What's that saying about irking somebody's demon? I don't know. Sometimes people can't stand your happiness, Live with it. Sometimes you just got to tell yourself, I'm winning. I'm happy. If you're miserable, I'm sorry. If you ask for help, I'll give you help. If you don't want help, I'm not forcing anybody to take help. Okay. Last thing. Cancel culture. This is a divisive topic. This is why I'm ending on this on this one. Cancel culture, it has its place, okay? And this is what I mean. If a person was to get online and say, let's do a mass murder. That's the only thing I could come up with. They're trying to organize mass murder or, things like that. Like that person needs to be kicked off of the internet, right? Like they are not allowed. So it has its place in that facet. Like certain really egregious things should not be allowed, right? Leon says, Rogish, let's go men frolicking with toy fish and some Texas blue balls. Yes, go play in the flowers, dang it. Yeah. Oh, Rogish says all their dances already look very frolicky. That's going to become a word now. That looks pretty frolicky. I don't know about that one. Rogish already came up with a hashtag, the frock. Oh, no, he was saying something else. I'm sorry. I thought there was an R in there. You were saying something else. Okay, Adrian's very concerned about the bugs. The flowers have bees. And I'm sure those blue bonnets do have bees, by the way. I'm sure. But back to cancel culture. It's so misguided now. I mean, think okay, so I don't know if you guys have if you know about this dating show where um they'll so if it's a man that is looking for a date, there'll be this lineup of women and they all have a balloon, like this red balloon. And he will come out and if they're not like physically compatible with his look, whatever, they'll pop it. But they'll ask questions of him and try to get to know him better. At any point in time, they can pop the balloon. And then the women with balloons left, he gets to pick who he goes on a date with. Okay. So recently, there was a guy that came on and through the course of having these conversations, and I've watched it, I'm not going to play it here. If you guys want to watch it, feel free. Or if you've already seen it, it's great. But I didn't see anything egregious that happened. It looked like every other episode. um, except that he had some boundaries. So, if somebody was trying to overtalk him, he would say, "Excuse me." I mean, he did it he had manners, etiquette, honor, but he held his frame. And what happened, regardless of because lots of things keep coming out that's deflection and changing narrative and team building, by the way, regardless of his past, his present, or his future, because of this dating show, 500 women called his place of business and got him fired because they didn't like how he presented himself on his silly dating show on social media. He lost his job, his livelihood. So this is where cancel culture is out of control, right? It's a dating show. The whole premise of the show is if you don't like the person, you don't leave with the person and you move on. Like that's the whole premise. So if you don't like him, don't date him. You know what I mean? But now we're doing the whole deflected, changing narrative. They're trying to find his past girlfriends to say that he's an a-hole. It doesn't matter. The 500 calls happened because of the show. So it doesn't matter. His past, present, future was not why the 500 phone calls were made. So let's stick with the facts. So that's where it gets nutty. On TikTok recently, there was a white female who said the N-word. I believe she said dusty broke or, and then the N-word. And so cancel culture engages, right? As it should. She should be called out. Things should happen. This is how you really think. Her job was called. Now, interestingly enough, I believe a Black woman owned the company, so that did not go over well, and she lost her job. Now, where cancel culture gets weird is in what happened to her after that. Because supposedly, she got a job at a conservative news station, and she posted up, "Hey, thanks for canceling me, Black people, because now I got the job at this conservative news station." It's like, wait, cancel culture did the thing it was supposed to do and got you a lucrative job? Like, again, are we in the twilight zone? That's nuts. Thank goodness I bring so much water in here. Okay, let me read some comments here. Let me go back. Yes, the bees. Oh, respect to the Roy Ayers reference. Yeah. Adric says that's because he is a black man to be on the show. The person can only be humble and weak. See, and I mean, I'm just getting it's a dating show. I've never really watched it. I just heard about it, and I'm like, and people trying to dig up his past and talk to, no, you can't excuse the behavior for something you didn't know when you did it. Make sense? That's changing the narrative. That's deflection. That's gaslighting. Well, he should have been fired anyway because he was mean to a girlfriend 12 years ago. That's not why you called. So it doesn't count. I don't care what he did. You called because of the show. Yeah. Further proof of the caste system. Exactly. Right? Like there are certain castes where you can't fail socioeconomically. It's just not allowed. You're not allowed to fail. Right? Adric says she failed up, right? She's not going to lose her spot in the caste system. She can't. That's not allowed. Leon says the white female trolled her way into 2 million followers. Yeah. See what I'm saying? Like, the cancelization did not work. Now the right-wing white men started interviewing her, but literally her situation will be short-term. She has no skills on real topics. I mean, but let's think about where she'd be going to work, and do all of those people have skills on real topics? Might she fit in with her same demographic? Pretty white, blonde, conservative, with certain viewpoints? Think she might. Adrian says white supremacy is predicated on the willingness to degrade black people. Yeah. I mean, logically, you make a racist statement and you get a job with the people. How does that make sense? Not at all. Yeah. 2 million followers for the N-word, Leon says. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's where cancel culture just got her a better job. And she thanked people. Oh, it was creepy, condescending. You know what I mean? Then we have things online like bullying, stalking, trolling, mass reporting, which is hard to deal with. If you are a content creator, you put information online, it's difficult to deal with the bullying, the stalking, the trolling, the mass report. It's like it's constantly something. It's a burr in your saddle. You know what I mean? Like it's a pain. You will see in my banner across the bottom, love you, YouTube. Because lately, oh, look at that. Oh, that was fun. There was hearts. Lately, my stuff is getting reported. It is getting blocked. It is, and I'm having to do things to get stuff put back up. And that's a pain. And then also, some things being blocked, people who are subscribed not seeing my stuff, or people finding out that their subscription was removed or their notification was turned off, or, and I don't know if that's from reporting, mass reporting, but the bullying, stalking, trolling, mass reporting, that kind of stuff, it seems like you will have two camps of people. One who just do not tolerate that at all. They don't tolerate any of that going on their channel. There are other people who say, let them talk. We can bat them around for a little while like a cat with a mouse, it could be entertaining. People could learn something, The reason why I'm a little more strict on my channel is twofold. One, because I make content on the mental health side of YouTube, and especially in shadow work and things like that. We are talking about touchy subjects, people who seek information on mental health or on psychology or even sociological things, because I hit on those too. That's just not the place. it is not the place to be being weird. Um, there are some people who are vulnerable. This is important topics. For me, this is just not a place to be weird. The second reason is we see that this stuff easily spills over into real life. You know, we can all think about situations where somebody's personal information, their address, their phone number, um, their place of business, those kind of things gets put out there. And you will have people who are already stalking online find the ability to be able to stalk in real life, or they're bullying online and then they're given the opportunity to bully in real life. And so that's why I just don't, this is not the place for it. Things spill over into real life too easily. And so I don't have a lot of tolerance for it. It creates targets on people. And when you have groups of people who are trolling, bullying, stalking, mass reporting, you kind of get that group think where they give each other the approval to act, and virtually and in real life. So I'm a little more, I guess, cancel-y over here. If people come out real weird, I'll ban them. And I mean real weird. Like, as an example, I had somebody on a Shadow Work Wednesday talk about what, and again, it's shadow work. We're talking about shadow work. We're talking about shadow work. And somebody wanted to put in the chat what they wanted to do to me sexually. I banned them. Like, not the place, not the place, not the time, not well received. So I'm a little more cancel-y over here. I will protect my subs. I'll protect the people in my chat. I'll protect the topics that we talk about. And if that's how you want to act, you can go do that someplace else. Okay, so anything else? Oh, thank you, Auntie. She's reminding people to hit the like button. Yeah, Toya says, yeah, that's happened to me too. Yeah. Indigo says, not the place. LOL. Yeah. Yeah. The ban hammer. The other thing is I'm on StreamYard and I don't know how to time people out. So if I see it, that means there's going to be a delay. I will see it before other people see it. And so if I move quick, I can just ban quick. Ban hammer of Thor with infinity stones. Yeah. I like the ban hammer. People can say, people can say certain things up to a certain point. You know what I mean? It's when it gets real weird. It's when it puts the people who are in the chat or people who are watching or even the replay gang or myself, but mostly my subs, if it puts them at risk, I just don't have tolerance for it. Just don't. Okay, Roga says, they unfortunately say having haters mean you're doing something right, which is grotesque in a way. But you are operating within the final frontier. You're with them or not, and don't seem to be. Excuse me. Okay, that was everything today. Thank you so much to the chat for everything that you've offered. I love when we can have like actual conversations and I'm not just talking into the void. That's kind of hard sometimes. Shout out to the replay gang. This Wednesday for shadow work, if you guys participate in shadow work, this Wednesday, we're going to talk about more about the personal algorithm, setting your personal algorithm, NPCs and the ops of life. So we're going to go into synchronicity, coincidence, repeating patterns, glitches, and Mandela effects. So if you can come, please join us. If not, I will see you guys next Sunday. I don't have a topic for that yet, but I'm sure something will happen in this wide, crazy world. All right, everybody have a great Sunday. Bye.